Oh, hey, hi. Just getting ready for a Saturday night and watch my Boilermakers play some basketball tonight. But before we do that, let's talk again about how we can climb together. Specifically, let's talk about C. So the first letter, C, stands for constantly or consistently. It reminds us that life isn't about the big things, but rather the little things that we do right consistently. It reminds us that it can take a lifetime to build a reputation and it only takes a second to destroy it. That championship teams are not built around home run hitters, but rather the guy that gets on base consistently by hitting hits. As we look to climb together this year, let us remember that we just need to be ourselves. We only need to be our best, not someone else's best, as no grand slams are required to be a great team member. Another C word is communication. And today, I would like to talk a little bit about a couple principles of good communication that can help us live inside our best. And I really look forward to hearing your thoughts when we get together as a team about it. All right, here's a good rule. Good rule of thumb is for healthy communication is to ask yourself three questions. Is it helpful? Is it necessary? And is it kind? If the answer to all three of those is yes, then it's a good idea to move forward with the communication. The next step would be to communicate directly to the person, not about the person, not about to a friend or a colleague, but to the person directly. And always with the goal to serve, support, and add value to the person, your audience. Because that's what it's about. Communication should be about the people that we're talking to, not ourselves. All right. One of the challenges we will often face in communication, especially in a good team like we have, is where it's critical to communicate a message that folks don't want to hear, right? We need people around us to point out blind spots and speak truth in our lives and challenge us to live inside our best constantly. I need you guys to do that. And sometimes you're going to have to tell me things that I don't want to hear, or tell me I'm not good at things where possibly I think I am, like putting videos together. Okay, we all know that. But really, how do you communicate when the audience doesn't want to hear that it's bad news? Well, doing it right is a critical skill, as we really need to get this right. We've all seen messages that are delivered wrong have devastating results, hurt teams, relationships, and people's spirits. So to live inside our best, it's important to get the delivery right. So let's dive in and look at a few tips for Climb communications, all right? All right, you have answered yes to it's helpful, it's necessary, and it's kind. So now what? What's next? Well, next is to check ourselves to make sure that we are healthy and in the right mind to deliver the message. Let's watch a short video together.
But if cabin pressure changes, the panels above your seat will open, revealing oxygen masks. If this happens, reach up and pull the mask toward you until the tube is fully extended. Place the mask over your nose and mouth, slip the elastic strap over your head, and adjust the mask if necessary. Breathe normally and note that oxygen is flowing, so don't worry if the bag doesn't inflate. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others. A water evacuation is also unlikely, but just in case, life vests are located under your seats in the main cabin.
Have you ever wondered why they want parents to put their oxygen mask on before their kids? I think one of the biggest mistakes by far in communications is we don't put our own mask on first before we try to help our peers, our spouse, and our team members. I think in the Bible it talks about removing the plank from our own eye before we remove the speck from someone else's eye. But it's really, really important that we get this step right. Albert Einstein said, it is difficult, in the middle of difficulty is opportunity. Think about it. Not in the beginning of difficulty, not in the end when it's over, but in the middle is of difficulties where there's opportunity. This may mean that we need to wait to communicate because it's in the beginning of the difficulty. We often don't have, in the beginning don't have the right perspective to see the opportunity. So we should pause and ensure that we are coming from a healthy place before communicating by taking a pre-talk inventory. What is that, you ask? Well, check yourself for insecurity, jealousy, anger, selfishness, revenge, or unhealthy motives for the audience or for the topic. You might be too close to it. Take a breath, take a step. These unhealthy, stress-headed emotions sabotage us for living our best communication, don't you think? What are some things that we can do when we don't pass the pre-talk check? First, most obvious, is get healthy, whatever that is. Maybe ask for forgiveness, maybe go for a long walk, maybe ask somebody that's causing these stress heads, is that what you mean, speaking of my life? Or maybe find security somewhere, something bigger than the situation. But we all wrestle with those things. We're not always going to be healthy. So what next? Well, one of the things I like to do, and Abraham Lincoln used a lot, is write a letter. So talk to the person, write your thoughts down, put them in a letter, but don't send the letter. Let it set for a while. I know I've done this in the past with friends, spouses, family members, even coworkers, but not at Clean, right? And then I went back later, weeks, sometimes months, and opened up those letters and read them and thought, wow, I'm glad I didn't send that because I wasn't thinking clearly there. There were parts, my perspective was not clear, and I would have hurt the person and damaged our relationship. And I was glad I didn't write it. Sometimes I've opened those up and read it and go, you know what? I can better communicate than that. And I'm going to call them. I'm going to have lunch with them. I'm going to talk about these tough truths now that I'm in a better spot. So I would recommend, write a letter. The other thing you can do is talk to an independent third party. And boy, what a great resource it is to have a friend. Now, I recommend a friend, not a spouse, but a spouse can do at times too. The reason why spouses aren't ideal, sometimes they're too close to the situation as well, because if it's your job, for example, well, they have vested interests there as well as their income, their money, your life together. What I found really rewarding, find a trusted friend, somebody you can talk truth into, even complain to, that won't tell you, I think you should go tell your boss off, but will talk truth in love and try to help, have your best interest in line. Having a friend like that and ask them, hey, can you go out to lunch? That's a big deal, and I hope you have a friend like that. And then lastly, talk to your direct report. And it's okay, I really want to hear what's going on in your lives. But if you're going to go to your direct report, I suggest that you don't talk about somebody else on the team. At least not before you talk to them. Okay? So all these things coming in line, it may mean you need to wait. We need to help each other, build each other up. And the process of doing that is we can't talk about each other behind our backs. We need to lift each other up by the hand, which means there's contact there. Sometimes it's going to be a little awkward, all right? Okay. But what if time doesn't permit us to come from a healthy place? We don't have time to write a letter and wait for a month. Then what? So, for example, when the building's on fire, It's critical to tell people the building's on fire and you get them out of the building. And you don't have time for a pre-talk inventory. So what do? Well, you be direct, short, clear, and stay on the topic of what is urgent. When the building is on fire, it is not time to blame or try to figure out what caused the fire, or to share a bunch of facts and figures about buildings or fires. It's just tell the people the building's on fire and get them out of the building. There'll be time later for forensic. A lot of people make a mistake here. They have to communicate something that's urgent, time sensitive, but because they're not coming from a healthy place, they like to bring in some of that unhealthiness into the message. We've all been there. We've all done that, probably with a family member. That seems to be where we struggle with it probably the most. All right. So to summarize our Climb communications, really simple here. Can you answer the three questions? Is it helpful? Is it necessary? And is it kind? If it doesn't pass all three, rethink whether you need to communicate it. The next thing you do is put on your own oxygen mask. First, by checking your health and your motives. And then last, when you communicate, be direct. Talk to the person, not about the person. All right. So I really look forward to our discussion, and we'll want to talk. I want to hear your thoughts as we work to climb in communication together.